vote in May. With the board members, with historians, and with prominent leaders at the Capitol. There are a few things to keep in mind as we have discussions. First of all, we are limited by state law on what we can and what we can't do. State law specifically addresses monuments and Stone Mountain specifically. And there are themes that run through our discussions. I believe you can't cancel history, and you can't run from it. Or as Churchill said, those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it. And as we've said many times, we believe in additions, not subtractions. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about the business challenges we face, talk about telling the whole story of the park, and suggest several things we can do to make Stone Mountain Park more welcoming and inclusive for all of our guests. The first slide we have here tells a story. In 2019, park revenues were approximately $49 million. 2020, park revenue fell to $22 million. We have two issues we're dealing with. COVID, which is arguably the most likely cause for most of that loss of revenue, and the Confederacy issue that we've run into some issues with. We've lost many opportunities at sponsorships. We have lost corporate sponsors that we already had, and we are in the process of defining what we're going to do about losing our existing partner that's been in place since 1998 and the hotelier that goes along with that relationship. So in August of 2022, our private partner is scheduled to depart. Probably the most important thing I want you to hear is we've had discussions with other potential partners. Those partners have all said, unless we take some action moving forward, that they will not even be bidding on the process, be bidding for the contract. So that's the economic reality. What I also want to tell you is there's no better place to tell a story than Stone Mountain Park. Throughout our nation's history, Georgia has been the center of many pivotal moments. The Battle of Atlanta, 100 years later, was the place where the civil rights movement started and where it happened. Atlanta took the world 30 years later, and we had the Olympics. And then, for the last 8 years, we've been the best place in America to do business. So I want to make now some specific recommendations for the board to consider. First of all, if you're telling a story, I believe you need to tell a whole and honest story. So what we're proposing is a new exhibit in Memorial Hall that tells the story of the carving. Some people look at the carving and see heritage. Other people look at the carving and see hate. But the truth of the matter is, it's a very complex story. The Ku Klux Klan was involved in the early years, had to do with the carving. The carving is 3 acres of solid granite on the side of the mountain, and it's really not going anywhere, so we need to tell its story. The next thing I want to talk about is the flag terrace. Flag Terrace is located on the walk-up trail. Hundreds, if not thousands, of people go by there every day. We're talking about securing and protecting that flag plaza by moving it from the walk-up trail to the base of the mountain in a park called Valor Park, which exists already. The new site would be located there, and the net effect of that would be that we would be preserving and protecting Confederate monuments, but as the law requires. But they would also be located in a 50-acre area near the base of the mountain, going up to Memorial Hall and over to Heritage Square. We've also talked about, we have not made any decisions on, but the notion of perhaps renaming Confederate Hall as Heritage Hall or something similar, and expanding the carving exhibit, as I mentioned earlier, in Memorial Hall. We also are talking about changing our logo. The existing logo of the park is the three horsemen, and we are talking about changing the logo to reflect the natural area of the mountain. And this is not the actual logo, these are just examples. The board would make a final decision. Finally, there are other considerations and recommendations. Some want to construct a Faith and Freedom Chapel on top of the mountain. We have the annual Easter sunrise service. We have requests for weddings on top of the mountain constantly. So we're talking about putting a chapel on top of the mountain. We also were talking about the possibility of renaming generic streets in honor of significant Georgians, or perhaps Unity Boulevard or some other street. I'm not talking about the main streets, I'm talking about Old Highway 78 and others. And finally, we have talked about renaming possibly some of the lakes and trails. Perhaps Indian Island should be named something else. We'll look at that. So those are some of the things that we are looking at doing. I want to be very clear and candid about one point, and that is economically we can't stay the way we are. Change is inevitable. We can either take charge of it or we can be defined by it. And the other point I want to make is there is nothing we can do to make everybody happy. Some on the left are going to say, some on one side are going to say you didn't go far enough. People on the other side are going to say you went too far. But the truth of the matter is we're attempting to occupy a reasonable, common sense middle ground which recognizes both history and heritage. So those are some of the few recommendations that I would like to make to the board. We'll consider these, we'll vet them. I would ask that we consider voting on some or all of these in May of this year. And at this point, I'll open up for questions from the board, if any. Yes, sir.
When you say renaming some of the streets, what, you're not talking about some of the names from Confederate folks, or some, what streets are you talking about?
The initial proposal does not include renaming Robert E. Lee Boulevard or any of the ones named from Confederates, but it does include perhaps renaming Old Highway 78 and some of the other roads that run through the mountain.
Chairman, congratulations on your new appointment. Thank you for serving, as well as the new board member. Welcome. Yes, my name is Bona Allen. I'm a member. I sort of skipped ahead a little bit. My name is Bona Allen, and I am a son of the Confederacy. I'm a son of Confederacy through my genealogy, through my lineage, through my blood. Part of my family is from Good Hope, Georgia, in Walton County, and Director Roberts, as we just met a few minutes ago, Director Roberts and I are related. Like Director Roberts, I am part of the Nunley family tree from Good Hope, Georgia. For everyone that doesn't know this, we are related to Matthew Talbot Nunley, who resigned his commission in the U.S. Military Academy at West Point to serve the Confederacy. He commanded the Company H of the 11th Georgia Regiment of the Confederate Army, and Matthew was killed at the Battle of Gettysburg. So our family's blood was shed for the Confederacy, and indeed the Georgia contingent of the Confederacy. I'm also from a long line of folks named Bona Allen in Gwinnett County. The Allens also volunteered for and fought with the Georgia contingent of the Confederate Army. It's the same Bona Allen that started the company in Beaufort, made saddles for all the famous cowboys, and saddles that shipped globally, and at one time was one of the largest companies in North Georgia. This brings us to today, here at Stone Mountain Park on the day that was previously set aside as Confederate Memorial Day. Based on that brief description of my family history, You know, it sounds like I would be all supportive of the Confederacy and celebration of the Confederacy and the monuments that are here. But that would be wrong. My grandfather, Bona Allen III, my dad, Bona Allen IV, and all other family members I can remember taught me the importance of treating everyone with the highest level of respect. This is the legacy of my family. All people, all persons should be treated with the highest level of respect. The celebration of the Confederacy here at Stone Mountain Park is not our legacy. It's not our history. It is used to oppress people. It is used to suppress people, and is used to intimidate people. I'm here before you today to stand up for what is right, morally right, ethically right, and the right thing to do for generations to follow us. That's why I'm proud to be active in the Stone Mountain Action Coalition. We have more than 6,000 supporters from all 50 states. We're affiliated with local and national organizations that reach millions of people. Make no mistake, I and the Stone Mountain Action Coalition appreciate the attempts of the chairman here, the CEO, to make changes. And it's a good first step, maybe, but I don't think it goes nearly far enough. As the CEO said a minute ago, you're never going to please everybody. But I can tell you from my family's history and our legacy here in the state of Georgia, bigger changes need to be made. You, this board, have a responsibility to the citizens of the state of Georgia, all the citizens of Georgia, to do what is right now. You have the authority, you have the ability, you have the obligation to remove these symbols without delay. Thank you, sir.
Chairman, members of the board, first of all, I want to say congratulations on your appointment here, and I also want to, my other good friend, Chris Sanders, I want to welcome you to this board. I agree with the governor wholeheartedly with these changes and appointments that he's made. I think it will speak volumes to what is going on in our community. I will also say, Reverend Mosley, you would appreciate this, that I think that we all, through the confluence of circumstances that bring us all here together, I think we were all appointed for such a time as this. Today is a time that we need to act on the proposals that have been made and to go further. I do believe that we need to adhere to the law, and as a result of that, I have sponsored House Bill 277, which will allow this board to not just go up to the line and look over, but to make the needed changes. You know, I've said this before, but you know, the legislators of their day, once Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act, the legislators, Georgia legislators at that time, were so upset with that they changed the name of Fair Street, which started at the state capitol and came all the way to the doorstep of Stone Mountain Park, and changed the name to Memorial Drive. At that time, Memorial Drive, the Stone Mountain Park was not only the headquarters of the Klan, but it remains the largest memorial to the Confederacy in the world to this day. I suggest the general manager, Bill Stevens, the incredible general manager, is absolutely correct. Those who do not learn from their history are doomed to repeat it. But I want to add a second verse to that, and that is those who learn from their history and don't make amends to the errors are just doomed. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would just suggest that we take up the recommendations and to go further. Thank you so very much.
Good afternoon, and congratulations, Mr. Chairman. Regards to the board. So in 1963, Governor George Wallace was blocking black students from entering the University of Alabama. He said, segregation now, segregation today, segregation forever. But Marvin Griffin beat him by 5 years when he had the state to buy what has become the largest shrine to white supremacy in the history of the world. Let's not be deluded by new revisions of history. The visionary behind Stone Mountain Helen Plain said, "It is due to the Klan, which saved us from Negro domination, and carpetbag rule that it be immortalized on Stone Mountain? Why not present a group of them in their nightly uniform approaching in the distance? Unfortunately, she didn't get her wish. But what remains is the same thought, is the same premise, is the same principle, is the same declaration of segregation to now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. Now we're beyond segregation, but we are not beyond racial animus, racial oppression. We are not beyond people claiming the privilege of white supremacy. We can get there, but we have to be honest. And all of us live in the state of Georgia and not reside in the state of denial. We have to be clear. Georgia, Dr. King said, how long will it take? How long will prejudice blind the visions of men, darken their understanding, and drive bright-eyed wisdom from her sacred throne? How long will justice be crucified and truth buried? How long? Not long, because you shall reap what you sow. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today, and congratulations, new chair of the board. I was born and raised in the South. I'm 71 years old, been living in Atlanta for 43 years. Stone Mountain is frozen in the past, celebrating a war in time that was bad. Stone Mountain is the most important, I didn't know it was the largest memorial to the Confederacy, but it's the most important symbol in the country of this racist and backward-looking celebration. As we know, the Ku Klux Klan was reborn on this mountain in 1915. I support all of the changes that the Stone Mountain Action Coalition recommends be done, going beyond what Mr. Stevens has talked about. I have climbed Stone Mountain several days a week for the last 9 years. The majority of climbers that I see are African American. I see their families with young children, 5 years old, 10 years old, 14 years old. What do these young children see to welcome them to this mountain? They see the Confederate flags. They see the Confederate names on the streets, and of course the Confederate carving. It is long past time to change these and enter the year 2021. Mr. Stevens might briefly remember I spoke at this board meeting 6 years ago. One idea that had been put forth at that time was for a bell tower to be placed on the top of Stone Mountain, honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. After all, in his 1963 speech, I Have a Dream speech, Dr. King said, "Let freedom ring from Stone Mountain, Georgia." It would be very appropriate to have a bell tower up there. And it will give all the people something to be proud of. I've also got to say, Mr. Stevens, 6 years ago, you made promises on a museum and nothing's done. I do have concerns that these ideas for changes will be put off and put off and put off. You need to have real specific deadlines for some of these major changes. Each of you board members needs to decide whether you will be on the wrong side or the right side of history. What will you tell your children, your grandchildren, or your great-grandchildren?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I want to take one moment, and I would like to give my other 2 moments to Teresa Hardy, my sister, please. The first thing I want to do is I want to say thank you, Mr. Mosley and the board, for some of the changes that you all are considering. I've written a very articulate speech today, and I realized that I just need to speak from my heart. I am very disappointed that you all do not see this American flag as good enough. You guys are willing to move the flag. order to keep the Confederate flags. That's disturbing. This is the greatest flag, the United States flag. I don't know how to convince you all of that, but I'm gonna keep trying. Secondly, I would like to say to you all that the easiest thing to do is let nature speak. This doesn't have to be a left or right. The Confederates, O'Toole versus Stone Mountain Action Coalition, it doesn't have to be that. It's an economic thing. Money moves everything. Economics. If we can focus on nature, make this easy. Don't make this hard on yourself. Don't make this hard politically. Focus on the simple things and bring people together. Nature. Simple. My sister Teresa Hardy, you can have my 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Teresa Hardy. I'm the president of NAACP DeKalb. We'd like to congratulate you, Mr. Mosby, as our new chair, new board member, Christopher Sanders. I just wanted to reiterate on making sure that we understand why we're really here, and that we really should refuse to celebrate hate here in this state of Georgia. There's an expression that says, if people knew better, they would do better. It is obvious to every American today who wishes to face the truth that the lost cause myth created and perpetrated by the United Daughters of the Confederacy is a lie. And just to reiterate on what the CEO provided us with the recommendations today, those recommendations will not stand on what we want to see done for this Stone Mountain Park. We are calling for the 3 Confederate figures on the mountain to be resculptured. We're calling for all references to be eradicated with the street names and other designated facilities. We are also asking that this park be repurposed. You said it yourself in the state of where the Stone Mountain is today, that the economics is important to you. And if every one of your partners have already told you you need to make a change, you need to make that change now. And now that we all know better, we must do better now. Refuse to celebrate hate. Thank you very much.
Board members, thank you for your time. My name is Tim Pilgrim. I am the Georgia Division of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. We provided you all with a proposal that gives some analytical data, statistics, and some alternative proposals for you to consider. You'll find it in front of you here. This proposal is somewhat premature because we have a documentary video that is in the production process. This video supplements our overall presentation, and once finalized, we hope that you'll allow us to come back to give you the full presentation. Once we were notified that there would be some proposals presented today, we thought it prudent to go ahead and get this written proposal in front of you so you can, to provide you, to make you aware of what we have to offer. We've hired a professional tourism company that specializes in historical parks. And more specifically, they specialize in heritage tourism. This firm has worked in some of the largest historical parks in the country, like Colonial Williamsburg, Jamestown, and also even Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. With Hershon terminating their lease agreement and the new entertainment companies being engaged, we think this is a prime opportunity to make Stone Mountain Memorial Park one of the premier historical heritage parks of the South. The attractions we got listed in our proposal are focused on heritage tourism. And heritage tourism is by far the highest revenue generating type of tourism, proven to increase attendance. And just as importantly, heritage tourism complies with the statutory mandate as required by state law. So what do visitors coming to a Confederate Memorial Park come here to see? Well, of course they come here to see the antebellum South. They want to see soldiers. They want to see period characters. They want to see living history demonstrations. They want to see Gone with the Wind, Terror. They want to see Bear Rabbit, the great locomotive chase. And this is especially true for foreign visitors. This proposal brings together something the park has been missing for a long time, a centralized theme to provide a historical experience of stepping back in time by implementing living history attractions. With my duty as division commander, I travel all across the state. I go from Camden County to Dale County, Seminole County to Rayland County. One thing I can tell you for sure, that people of Georgia are very passionate about Stone Mountain State Park. And they're very compassionate about the memorial carvings. It's a source of pride with them, even more so than I had expected. So any changes that are not in accordance with the park's statutory mandates as a memorial to the Confederacy is not going to fare well with the citizens of Georgia. But we are in a unique position to provide assistance. Most of our members are historians. Most of our members are professional reenactors. We know sutler vendors. We know period craftsmen. And most of all, we want to see Stone Mountain Park succeed. So we hope you allow us to come back, and my card is in the presentation. If you have any questions, please contact me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and permit me to join everyone else and congratulate Reverend Mosley on his elevation as board chairman. I was also raised as a Baptist, and as a Baptist, I'm not a liturgical churchman, of course, but I do recognize liturgical churches have something to say. That's my repetition. So for the new member of the board and the old members of the board, I just wanted to reemphasize again the statutory requirements that the park is faced with. The park is charged to maintain an appropriate and suitable memorial for the Confederacy. In recent years, we've heard a lot of criticism of the park. We've even heard people say they want to, quote, contextualize or destroy the park, to destroy the carving. We heard that here today. Stone Mountain Park, by law, is a memorial to the Confederacy. It is, quote, dedicated to honors or recounts the military service of any past or present military personnel of the state, the United States of America, the Confederate States of America, unquote. Webster's dictionary defines honor as, quote, esteem due to or paid to worth, high estimation, respect, consideration, reverence, veneration, manifestation of respect or reverence. This is the purpose of the park, according to the statute. It's not the purpose to contextualize it. It's not the purpose to talk about the Ku Klux Klan or other things like this. Under Georgia law, this memorial is to pay honor, respect, and reverence to the persons and organizations for whom it's to honor. Yet the speaker of this meeting and the last meetings have talked about interpreting statutory language to give discretion to destroy carvings or make them decay by natural wear and tear. This is strained interpretation to give lawyers a bad name, and as a lawyer, I kind of object to that kind of ridiculous interpretation. I'd ask you to recall that the statute, when it was modified, when we changed our state flag, it was a compromise. The Georgia state flag had the Confederate battle emblem on it. That was removed, and in part of that compromise, the state park was to be dedicated forever as a memorial to the Confederacy. Now that the state flag has been changed, we have people coming in who don't want to hold to that compromise any longer. They instead want to take like the salami and cut off a new piece, a new piece, and a new piece. Even Mr. Stevens' proposal, you heard several people get up and say, that's a good first step, but that's not going to do it for us. I don't think these people can be satisfied. I don't know that they'll ever be satisfied. So I call upon you to bear with the law in Georgia, to keep it and maintain it as a memorial to the Confederacy, as it's intended to do, and to the natural landscape that surrounds it. That's what the law requires you to do, and I hope that you will obey the law. Thank you very much.
What I wanted to say, not to let them forget the major issue out here, is to get fellas off that mountain. And of course, you know, they got the law that says you can't do it unless you go through the process. We know that. But we want the people who are pushing to keep that always in front. And maybe we can get some elected officials, get some, you know, to have some sessions legally that they can do to try to get it passed while we're doing all this other stuff.